Trying
Yeah,
to
no,
just do it.
I'd rather get it. I should have maybe asked a little bit of something.
No, 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 no. I just thought it was
Well,
recording, so we were fine.
Hang
I
on.
just figured Matt touched something.
Always.
It was Steve.
I breathe.
No, it was me. I should have let Patty do it. It's my fault.
The owl's not. It's not. It's
It's
not
not.
recognized.
No, the
Yeah, because
video.
it's not on
The
yet. It's still
video isn't
rebooting.
working.
It's still flashing. It's starting to
Yeah.
pull it out.
Push that button or hold it down, maybe.
I'm gonna keep showing you.
No.
No. What is this?
Oh no, we're not.
Yeah, but I think the red is when it's muted.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm not.
Okay.
No,
The
now
eyes
they're
are
on. Now they're
They're
on.
on.
I can hear you now.
Is it
There we
on?
go. Perfect. We're
I
back
don't know
up.
when that.
Land use,
yes,
high tech.
It was just at the beginning of the meeting. It never came on.
High tech.
No, she said, thank you, we can hear you now, but I
Right.
don't know.
How about now?
Oh, yes,
Yes,
perfect.
perfect. Thanks. She
Great.
out.
So thank you.
Okay, so
We
next
verified
time.
Yeah.
Yes, we are good to go.
Yeah.
What was that button?
Super.
There's a
The mute.
Oh, it's
microphone
on each
with a.
side. Oh, okay.
I didn't know. Didn't really think of it before.
All right, so I think we were at commissioners' comments as far as the 14 versus 16 dwelling units. Do we want to modify it to be what we approved, whether it was inadvertent, however it happened, doesn't really matter at this point. We are looking at it in the rearview mirror. Or do you want to just leave it as we've done most of the proposal is to mimic this approved state application, permit application?
I believe it's the 16 units has got to be grandfathered in because it was already approved.
That's
But
correct.
if we want the 14, if we prefer the 14 units, then going forward, that's the way it's going to be because you might have future IHZ zones.
Right.
So
And I think that's kind of what Doug was referring to go on your coattail of saying that is this zone. If we do another IEC, we may need to look at the density on the next IEC potentially.
mhm.
My question is, if we've already approved 16 and we're having a public hearing now, if we're informing the public of the 16 now, I feel that we're honoring our commitment to the community by saying we've made this mistake. 14 was originally what we presented. 16 got approved. We're bound by our decision of 2019 when they brought the original site plan and then came back in 2021 to amend it. I think we're bound by that. So I think it's a great idea to keep it at 14 because that's what was originally approved, but I think it's a moot point. Also, in our meeting 2 months ago, Janelle really did say that the IHZ is not something that our community is going to use, nor is it what the state is going to use moving forward. So I think also as a commission, we have some opportunity to do other things. So I think getting caught up in this IHZ for too long may not help us at all because it may never ever be used again. And I know you were concerned last meeting about what ifs and potentials, and I think we can also readdress those later if it becomes an issue. But I think we should represent this as 16 because it's what the plan has already it's already in motion. I mean, they're even, they've cleared land, they're doing stuff. So I think it's representative to the community that we're presenting it as 16. We've made the mistake, and I think we have to move forward.
Okay.
And another IHC, then we readdress.
Right, and but
And it may not even be this IHC
and it may not
anymore.
even be an IHZ the next
gonna
time
call it
around
something else.
because Janelle said there's other mechanisms at the state level that will change how we might even zone portions. So if someone, you guys
Yeah.
brought up the fact of someone donating 100 acres for affordable housing, there would be other mechanisms that we would put in place. correct, Janelle?
Correct. And
So-
I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't speak for the state, but there are other legislative discussions around housing, as many of us are aware, and many other mechanisms for whether it's mixed use housing, workforce housing, and the like that don't get funneled, to Stephen's point, in the way that the IHZ.
So I just don't want to get too hung up on logistics of 14, 16, this or that. I think we're down a road and we're just trying to make sure that we're presenting to the community what's happening.
During this
Um,
phase, can you make motions to?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
But
So if you wanted to make a motion to that effect, we can make a motion to adjust the verbiage that we would bring to the special meeting that following this, if we close out the public hearing.
I'm willing to make a motion, but I'd rather not make it until we maybe have some public comment.
Okay.
Just because I'd like to hear from other people before this other point about public hearing. I'm prepared for the motion of that, but I'd rather make that at the end of our public hearing.
Totally fine. I think it was more me talking out loud of how.
No,
how
that's
we
fine,
modify
unless
the
you
language.
think
May-
otherwise.
No, I was just going to ask you a clarifying question. With your thought of having it capped at the 16 units, are you suggesting eliminating any mention of bedrooms?
As you politely said before, we don't do floor plans as part of what we do as our commission. I feel that it is very important to limit the bedrooms. I understand why we were doing that. I'd like to get into that conversation separate from this
Gotcha.
because there's some other reasons why we should discuss that further based on some planning statutes that the state has that we should take on as a commission, but I'd rather do that next per se. Because I understand why they capped the bedrooms. We were worried about the well-being of our community and the property values within the community. And I think that's a discussion we should have separate from this specific thing, because I think we're just trying to deal with the 16 units that are being done and trying to get this sort of nailed down to a better appropriate thing for our community.
Yeah, and I think the bedroom also was it. I'm scratching in my memory here, and I might not be 100% exact, but I think it was kind of a metric used for water, sewage, disposal, all of that. So
That was my
although on
understanding.
a regular thing, we may not talk about that. I know we don't deal with that, but I think it was in the original application. That's kind of where that number derived from.
I think it
Not-
came from a
not-
public hearing and the worry in the community of the tax burden that was going to be presented due to the housing project being built. And I think that was the way to ease the worry or concern that it wasn't going to be 60 kids coming into the school that was going to be a burden. So I think that was where the idea came from, but I don't know
in the
where we could have argued that
in the
or
purview of
stipulated
is
that.
the planning and zoning anyhow.
I understand the idea of it. I don't think the mechanics of it exist.
It is in the application, however. And it's actually in a housing plan for the town of Canaan that Jocelyn Ayers put together. So it's in the application a few different places. So how they come up with it, I'm not sure either, Stephen.
No, I don't either, but I'm more playing the game that was their way of easing our concerns. I don't think it was anything that we could have even asked for at that time. So I'm more concerned about if it wasn't in their state application. I don't know where the teeth are for it. It might have been how they presented it to us in their application, but I don't know how we enforce it at all. But I agree with you that it's super important and we have to be focused on this as our community.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would be in favor of naming it just because it was named in the application, and that's the sole reason. I'm understanding it's not necessarily under our purview. However, in this particular application, in this zone for a project, that's what the number presented to our town was, and that's the number of bedrooms that people have heard for this length of time. I think that doesn't hurt us to list that. That's just my opinion.
it doesn't hurt to list it at all, and we have a record saying that we don't have the teeth to enforce it anyway, so I'm fine with it both ways.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that there is not the teeth to enforce it. It is atypical of what enforcement is, but certainly if it's in the regulations, then the commission would reserve the right to ask for floor plans, as we do for home businesses and other
Oh,
accessory dwelling units in their current iteration. We do ask for that so that we can verify size.
got it.
So in this particular case, we haven't given up that authority.
Gotcha. Oh, okay, well then, yeah, then let's make sure that the
Okay.
27 bedrooms is in there.
So that's the, seems like we're kind of maybe have that piece figured out. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that piece before we move on to the next? Hearing none, the next, Doug, do you want to kind of rehash the density waiver? And you make a good argument. Could you just state it one more time so that we can discuss? it?
Sure. So bottom line is there is no mandate or requirement or statute that says we have to offer a waiver for density. There is for other things, design standards, yes, and that sort of thing. But in terms of actual units, dwell units, it's at our discretion, like, depending on the property, the proposal, and what people would like to see there. So that being said, we have in our regs a line that says density waiver permitted to municipalities or nonprofit control land, which is true. If it were appropriate or feasible for that particular IAZ, we could say yes, because they would like to see that happen, especially for nonprofits, control land. In our case, we've set the limit at, if it's going to be 16 and 27, whatever numbers ends up being, as the cap. And that then says there can't be waivers asking for more. So you can either take it right out, in my opinion, that line, density waiver altogether, or if we decide we'd rather rewrite it and get specific, which isn't a bad idea maybe, to clearly define the cap, 14 or 16, whatever it ends up being. And then, if you read the state statute, they talk about including a limitation issue or concept or a line in there that basically says if somebody were to approach the PNZ asking for a increase in the density, if it's beyond the cap that we've already set, then the request would be unacceptable and have to be denied. So that becomes part of the verbiage if we're going to rewrite it, I think. Now we can add in at that point even, 14, 27, with the exception of 2 additional to make it 16. So that's maybe where we could build it in and clearly define it again. So, I'm always falling back to this IHZ is the only one we have. This regulation book that we're going through is specific to that. So when we're clearly defining things, I think the sharper we get, the better.
Can I ask a question off that? So are you saying that you're looking to use the waiver to get us to 16?
No, we don't need the waiver portion of it at all. It's something that it hasn't been asked of us yet, but if it were, we'd have to kick it around and figure out if it's something we wanted to do. What I'm saying is, if we're going to keep that in as part of the regs, it's under H, 1 or 2, I
Yeah,
believe.
exactly.
Then we should probably stop and define it more clearly.
Great. Okay. No, I just want to make sure you weren't trying to use it.
Right.
No, thank you.
Anyone have his thoughts about just removing that one? What? Just a.
Each one.
When I see a density waiver, I'm wondering what the request would be. I can only imagine that someone asked for, we have a waiver to have more.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's until somebody does, we don't know, but the point would be we'd have to say no because we've really established what we believe should be the cap for dwell units. And it's not even an acreage thing, it's for the IHZ zone itself. That's how it was approved by the state, the town. That's how the application moved forward.
So where were you going with that, Tim, exactly?
Just
Are
help
you
me.
just still pondering?
Yeah, I have nothing further. I was just thinking about how that was in my head.
So if the waiver is not in there, then nobody's,
Is that density waiver line from the old from the old,
Yes.
right? It
Yeah.
was there before, right? It's not
Yes.
something we decided.
Well,
No,
that doesn't stop a
Criteria.
group from requesting a waiver or an increase. In this case, you can't, only because we've set the cap. If it were another IHZ and it were another proposal, it would be a consideration. We'd have to look at it as a possibility.
so if we take it out, then there's no asking.
Well, they're still asking if people are, up on stats and whatnot, it's available. If somebody wanted to ask, it doesn't mean it's, a given. You'd have to look at the proposal, the property, all the particulars. See if it fit that IHC.
Well, I kind of feel like we're writing a regulation specific to a project versus some, should we get a new IHC for whatever the reason, even though we think we may never have that again, that no one's gonna, if it's not spelled out, they may not think to ask for a density waiver, right? That they're gonna like, oh, here's the regulation and this is what I have to follow. And yeah, maybe it makes sense to put in a couple extra units in this zone because of the way the zone lays out or whatever. But I think, we're writing our regulations, whether they get used or not in the future for a project that is in front of us now versus what the future may bring.
Good point.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So if another IHC property was donated and wanted to have that, this document would be used to start that?
Correct.
Right. It wouldn't just start a whole new one and
Right. They would go off of what we create tonight.
And that's kind of what even if there's other mechanisms and whatnot coming from the state being the state and the world being the world, you just never know when something's going to fall in the lap. And I would rather get an IHC zone outline, a regulation
Okay.
the way that we would like it. And what we found is that, depending on the property, depending on the location, depending on too many variables that we can't solve this equation. I think we're acknowledging we might have to, if that happened, we may have to revisit some of these things, but this is what we have to work with today is the one IHC that we have.
So the mechanism for creating another IHC would have to be a map amendment because currently it's there reference to a map, which I've yet to see, but it's the 80 acres that are on River Road Homes. That's referenced in the current regulations. So in the event that a future developer, interested party, this commission itself designated land that they felt was appropriate for a different IHC, you'd have to go through the zoning map amendment to designate that as such. But there is a map tied to the IHC currently, even though it's not readily available or in the regulations. My thinking around this update is to get the mapping done on the GIS system.
So you're saying the IHZ zone is just for this particular place?
It is
It
tied to
cannot,
the.
it cannot go,
As of
as it's written, it cannot go to another piece of property.
There's a possibility it could, but there would be
There's
a
steps,
procedure to get there.
there's steps to get there, but it absolutely could and would after the steps of getting it approved.
There are standards in this that would apply to another. That when we get into things like this density issue, it's much more specific to that location, that proposal.
So,
But there's other things, if you read through from page 1 on, we've been rewriting this stuff for a while now. And there's things that are probably going to stay in there as standard, I would guess, right?
For sure.
I mean,
Probably
yeah.
most.
It's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just generally speaking, some of
Generally,
it is going to be
it would,
standard.
most of it would move for any regulars. properly designated, IUC or 3 or 16.
I mean, my understanding, having not been involved with the original adoption, is that it would be that precursor of the state and then come local.
Correct.
So it would have to go through that whole process. So it would leave an applicant, if interested in designating a specific density or asking for a density waiver, the ability to do that at that time, especially if they're going through the efforts of a map amendment, which is a heavy lift as a proposal as an outside applicant, to like, if they're going for density, to go for the density that they would be requesting.
So that would leave us 2 mechanisms for a future zone. It would either be 16 dwellings, 27 bedrooms as is. They would have to ask for, planning and zoning would want to, however that is instigated, would maybe have to do an amendment to our regulation if we want to change it for a future zone to less units, more units, or whatever units to match whatever. If there was a 10-acre parcel or, I'm sorry, a 3-acre parcel, maybe we wouldn't have 16 dwellings and 3 acres. It wouldn't work. How do we deal with that? Well, we could do a regular amendment to our regulation. So that could be a way in the future too.
Would it be, I don't think easier is the right word, but I'm going to use it because I can't think of something else. But the previous regs are talking in dwelling units per acre. So putting just the 16 units is really pinpointing the specific project. But if we're going to, as you were saying, look in the future as well, maybe it would be smart to keep it dwelling units per acre that we are comfortable with. So if you do have 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 acre parcel, it's going to match what we're comfortable with as a town.
Yeah, well, on that, we really struggled trying to define the definition and whatnot, and that's why we reverted back to this. We keep coming back to this
Yeah.
application.
I
think
just was,
I'm hearing you, but I would struggle to go that direction again. I think that was maybe a flaw that you did from the start,
yeah. I mean, this,
because it's so hard to define.
yeah.
Kind of.
It's just, if you're good with 14, if that's, 1.4 on each acre, then you can float around with that number, which would
Those
still,
poor 4/10 of a house.
I
people,
know
right?
they're going to be tight, but so I don't know. I just thought maybe that'd be an easier way to read it or interpret it if
Yeah,
it's
that
not
metric
like a
would be
set.
nice to develop for sure.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
State, the state offers a minimum, sorry.
It was on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah. No, the state offers a minimum of 6 and 4, right? Per acre,
Minimal.
minimum.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Oh, I scribbled that out because we
Yeah.
were going to
We were
change it to
confused.
max.
Yeah.
Right, well, that's where we were confused
Mhm.
on it, but
Yes.
it's minimum. So if you go by that, this project state has, in essence, given them a waiver already to approve the 14. So you could add in, I think, the 6 and 4 the state gives us as an option to be a minimum, but then still play around with the density issue down the road for the next application or proposal.
I struggle with that as a planner because it seems a little bit arbitrary and capricious, where typically when you're looking at density, you're looking at the soil type, you're looking at the land feasibility, the steepness of the slopes, not just 4 or 6. So I like to have like the findings behind. I always thought there was a report that went with the original application for the number of bedrooms that had something to do with sanitary capacity. I don't know if I imagined it in my head because I thought it would be nice, or if it was a part of the original application. But I find that to be the most prudent way to achieve densities just based on what it is that that land can support, because it varies wherever you go. I mean, we've seen some areas that are very particular and hard to develop that aren't suited for density of,
Yeah, I mean, and then on top of that, you have, you know, the transparent, uh, proposed projects to the community of going back to this particular IEC zone of 14 and 27. So it's, you know, and it's, I realize that it's not, we don't control that, but it's definitely, we're influenced by that,
yeah.
and rightfully so.
Well, I was going to say, she may be right because there is a water. They have to do a water company to run this. I mean, so there might have been stipulations around 27 because of Torrington Area Health or other factors on the property. So I think what Janelle's saying is very important. I want to stay completely away from minimums, maximums, waivers. I think we can be very matter of fact with 14 or 16, whatever the number we decide here tonight, and that's that. I think that we're getting into the weeds and somewhere where we don't, because maybe they can do townhomes altogether because it's a flatter piece and the septics will be easier, or there's so many other variables that go into that I'd rather not play the density game on
Right, it could
this.
be municipal sewage by that point somewhere.
So I think I'd rather just stay within our unit factor and not get caught up in that, at least as of now.
But in the small town of Falls Village, do we want to keep some kind of, for lack of a better word, image of what everything's going to be like? Do we want um a whole bunch of houses compressed and have apartment buildings, what's the word?
Duplex or,
More bigger than that, bigger than a townhouse.
I mean, and they're already
Uh,
regulated in pineapples.
Apartment complex,
But I
there
think
you go.
we have other regs that are or that play part in whether it's a rural agricultural or village business or residential. We have other regulations that play within that as well. So you can't do a certain type of height or a certain type of building, and it's not in that area, no matter
Okay.
what.
Okay,
So right now, we're allowed duplexes in the village business or village zone. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
village zone. Sorry, yes.
mhm,
the village residential zone. But not in RA or Mountain or all the other zones in town. It's just in the village center, a duplex, but not three. I believe we're limited at duplex.
Yeah, I
At-
live
at
in
this-
New Town.
Maybe that's something we
We just
tackle in the
believe.
future, if it makes sense, especially if sewer system came in. We already had water in the village. If we had a sewer system in the village, maybe that would make sense to try to increase. the
okay,
density.
okay, I see what,
That
okay, I
unit.
see where you're going, yep.
But
But I'm just saying, if in our little town, we don't wanna have apartment
we have regulated,
complex.
in essence, regulated.
So,
We've regulated that out.
And height restrictions really tamper that.
Right.
And we
Okay.
have a 35-foot height restriction.
Okay,
That's
okay.
pretty much broad throughout the entire community. The only way around that is a barn, pretty much in our regs.
okay. And I feel let's get it done the way we want it to for the future, do it now and not have to do it later.
The only
make-
caveat there, right, would be the maximum density is tough. We don't know if it would be applicable to another parcel without seeing that parcel, but we can't find a better metric. I truly believe we can't find a better metric because of too many unknown. But at least it's a starting point. And it goes into our current IC zone. It goes back to the theory of what the town thought it was getting. And I think that's the best we can do.
Okay,
And then Chairman, perhaps it's a lesson learned. So if this commission was ever faced with an outside proposal, asking for studies and reports and septic suitability and really an argument as to why the density makes sense where it is being asked based on facts, science, figures, rather than just throwing a bunch of pasta at the wall and
I
see
feel-
what number came back.
Okay.
Great learning too.
I think we've got that, section H1 covered, I believe. Throughout the rest,
Just for clarity in my understanding, since I'm marking this up, is taking out density. Am I crossing that at this point?
if a
We're
motion
getting
is
there.
made.
Oh, okay, got
Yeah,
it.
no
Sorry.
motion yet,
Not
we're just,
jump.
at this point, discussion, going over the,
Just trying to make sure.
proposed draft. So it's H1. Is there anything else within this proposal that anybody would like to just 5 pages long there? I think that used to be like 88 pages long. Wow.
Yeah.
So I think the definitions all came out what we wanted, and I think they're very clear and
They're great.
Mhm.
right, so that's 1B. The purpose is straightforward.
My one thought to add, and again, not to change anything, but I think number 4 it might be important to add align with the application as submitted to the state entitled with a date.
For where?
So yeah, to add under
Four?
A
Okay.
4,
Oh,
add a number 4 as the purpose. So that it's known that the purpose of this regulation is to align with the application as submitted to the state entitled um, and with its date, so that there's an understanding for everyone that isn't in the room this evening,
Okay.
future commissioners, so they know where these regs are coming from.
Oh, man.
Just to,
So we're talking about the 2013
Yeah.
application to the state.
yeah,
So that would be 4.4A4. Is everybody
Correct.
Can you just say the language one more time?
align with the application as submitted to the state entitled, and I think someone here has a copy of that application, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Entitled.
You need it?
That would be great just to know what it was called, if there's a formal name for it, and then what date it was officially dated.
1876.
It just seems like that, right?
It does.
Yeah, this is a copy, so there's not a lot of information.
I just want to see, do we have a name? Okay, so. I mean, do we call it IHZ application?
Yeah.
Okay, so
213.
IHZ application dated,
If you're putting this together for future IHC, then why would you be so specific about that?
because this is the impetus for changing the regulations.
This is why we're trying to tie this back up. We
Oh,
want
under purpose, got it. yes.
right. We just want to
Yeah,
make
just
sure
so we
that
know why.
so a next group of commissioners, if they want to
Got
look
it.
at this as part of our minute,
I didn't realize we're under
yeah.
purpose.
I think that's actually really important.
Oh, here we go. Here we
Next
go.
question. Yeah.
Right now, and it gives us
Yeah, I get it.
a privilege reason for why we're still.
The state did theirs in 2014.
Is because this
Housing
was
for
part of
Economic
the
Growth Program,
original
revised.
application, and we're just trying to get back to that.
Application revised in 12.
Right.
The mess.
Makes sense.
I just did look at that compared to that signature.
I think if you go with the sign off sheet, you're probably better
You
off.
want to call it that? Because that's on town record?
Is that a date?
Or
No, that's
likely.
13. That's the application date.
Oh, great. Beautiful. Okay, so it's dated 7/25/2013, and we're calling it
Birthday.
application
Happy birthday.
to enable the IHC.
Application
To enable. Yep.
the IHC.
By the town of Canaan.
725, is that what you said?
725,
713.
13, yes.
Mhm. Okay, so then
So we'll make sure we're clear of this before we take the action.
Yeah, I gotta rewrite that.
If we decide we want to add this line, we'll do it to a motion and a vote. Are you good on that one?
Yeah,
So that's A4, we went through B, C location, D applicability. So B is, remember the IHC is, it's not an only IHC zone on this property, it's an overlaid IHC zone. So the owner always has the right to revert back to just residential,
Rural agriculture.
yeah,
Yeah.
RA.
Where it was before.
And I can get that right, I know it's RA, whatever the thing first.
Yes.
Permitted use, that's a right, site plan approval required. E looks pretty straightforward, right between the definitions of single family and duplex townhouse. Accessory structures permitted, pretty's right. F site plan review, which we've been through with River Road Homes, with the criteria, the waivers. For dimensional requirements. G's housing and affordability, which we are at 100% of units for this IHC. I know we had a discussion in the past about maybe changing that, but we're at 100%. We cleaned up the administrating agency. The compliance parameters, certificate of zoning compliance is I guess that would come from the administrating agency, Janelle, for like affordability compliance documentation.
no, zoning compliance is issued by your CEO.
Right, so you will check the, that's what I'm saying, though,
Yeah.
you'll look for the
Yeah.
administrating agency to supply you with that, or the applicant, or the
Yeah.
owner, I guess. Just making sure that we're,
So the commission will also be asking for the reports, so there will be a little bit of interfacing with the administering agency,
Yeah.
but it won't fall on the commission to
Right.
be the responsible agent.
okay, because we recognized before it was
Yeah.
a lot of onus on us that we're
Yeah.
not interested in, or really.
So can I ask a question on that? When
Yeah.
we say affordability compliance documentation,
Yeah,
so you're issuing a certificate of zoning compliance and asking for affordability compliance documentation as in what? Like what their plan is to who they're going to rent to in terms of what the income limitations are. I guess I'm looking at it and thinking your zoning compliance certificate is going to be pre-build.
no,
But
that's after.
that's post-build.
Yeah.
But is it pre-CO or post-CO?
That is.
That's
CO.
to get the CO.
That is to get the
Yeah.
CO.
Yeah.
So they can't rent anybody until they have a CO.
Correct.
And how can they give you affordability compliance if they haven't been able to rent anybody?
So it's coming from the administering agency, and I'm glad that you're asking these questions. And we might want to clean up that
Well,
language.
I would look at that as the administrating agency is going to have a metric to define it as being 100% of the units being meeting the affordability requirement. So it's not necessarily the person utilizing that unit. I think it'd be more of a policy of, what is their metric to delineate how they're meeting that 100% affordability. That's how I
I
interpret.
mean, rather than CO market rate, because of the whole purpose of this zone is going to be 100% affordable units. So if there isn't a check in here from this commission, it's like, what's to say they're not just going to potentially, if that check isn't in there, at the time of a final zoning inspection without the administering agency giving some sort of certification documentation. Because that's a big part of the entire compliance.
Right, and that's where
Because-
I'm getting hung up,
Yeah,
because it
no, but
says,
it's a great question.
because it's saying affordability compliance, and what, from my perspective, right, it's like, okay, I want to make sure that the person that's moving in there is making the right amount of income and paying the right amount of rent.
Yeah.
And to me, that's an after lease
Yeah, of course.
effort, right? So maybe it's not necessarily affordability compliance, but affordability requirements, and, or documentation of affordability requirements.
That
Saying
sounds.
that says that this is who we're going to rent to, not necessarily, to me, compliance is who you have rented to.
That's a great
However you
point.
just said it was perfect.
Document-
Affordability.
Documentation of affordability requirements.
That makes great sense. Documentation, affordability requirements, and then get out of compliance documentation.
Yes.
And I'm going to specifically have it read, applicants shall provide documentation of affordability requirements from administering agency. So it's really clear that that's not expected to come from us. Yeah.
Good job.
Great point.
Good job.
Yeah.
Cost standards of rental units less than 30% of eligible income. That's
That's
the
just a
correct
state.
metric at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
Ownership units, per Connecticut General Statute, 5 design requirements, affordability. 6 incentive housing restrictions shall include minimum 30-year enforcement authority, unit identification or proportional applicability, pricing formulas, occupancy restrictions, monitoring, reporting requirements. That, in essence, most of that falls under the administrative agency. No waiver of affordability requirements shall not be waived. I mean, the only question I have on that, and it's been a continuing one, is what? So a young family moves in, they're accepted, and this may not sound for you, but it's while we're talking about it. They come in and all of a sudden, let's just pick a number, $70,000. It's just a number, not referring to anything. They can make up to $70,000. So they start at $65,000 and then they get a raise at work or a promotion and they make $71,000. I mean, I guess it's probably isn't the place, but my question is like, what happens to that family?
They cannot renew their lease. They have to go.
So they just.
And that's the challenge with doing 100% affordable, complexes, right? Like in my world, they just move to a market rate, right? Like, because ours is typically 20% of the residents make 80% or less of median. So they would just come off the list of affordable apartments. We would change the code on that apartment. They would become market rate. And then, another apartment would be made available for someone that meets those income restrictions. When you say 100% has to be affordable, basically that family can no longer stay there. Then it becomes, how do you get them out? And then all those things that you have to deal with to be able to turn that unit to make it back to an affordable unit.
If you give them market rate, do they stay in the apartment?
Usually, yeah. Usually.
I'm gonna go outside of this table just because I think Tracy might have something. You looked like you
I'm
wanted.
listening intently.
Okay, it looked like you had something up.
Well, the comment about when they go above the rate of 80% or 100%, how do you get them out?
You
Evict them.
What's your
if that's what it comes down to, yeah.
In this language, right?
Yeah, if that's what it comes
I'm just
down
thinking
to.
about foreclosures and
Right.
It's not a foreclosure.
No, I know.
No, it's not an easy thing. I mean,
It happens at
is-
I was just acknowledging what Greg was indicating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you give us some history of Sharon?
So
Ridge
Sharon
process?
Ridge, they've had demand ever since it was built. And they've added 10 more units and it's 100% affordable. So it is that tricky thing. It's also calculated based on your household size. So if you have a growing family, that can certainly change. If you have a death, all kinds of things. So as we know, life is dynamic and it can be really tricky to meet those formulas perfectly. And it's also, there's this negative effect of like getting a promotion or a raise is a very good thing. But certainly not if it's going to get you kicked out of your housing.
Mhm.
So it's hard. And to Kathy's point, that's with the 100% of affordable units where the mix gives you a little bit of flexibility. Or if you have your workforce, you have 80%, and then you have like you're severely
This is 100%.
housing cost burden. Yeah, the application.
The
And that's
application
why-
will follow the application. I mean, that's
Yeah.
our goal, but it's just, that's a tough one.
But
Yeah.
it's a good future consideration
Yeah,
as you
because-
talk about mixed use
Mm-hmm.
and potentially multifamily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it, it's a really tough, sticky wicket.
Yeah,
where
yeah. Well,
It turns cold. It has to be cold, right? But
yeah, and that's why they have to income, recertify income every year, right? Because that does happen, and then it becomes okay. You're no longer qualified for this apartment, and they don't kick them out instantly. I think they have a certain amount of time to go, but yeah, it does happen.
And now apparently realize keeps everybody from not getting a job.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Remind me, will these properties in this application be sold or rented?
Rented.
Rented. I know of a model that if your income goes above, then the rent goes up,
And I think that's kind of what Kathy was.
right? As opposed to, but now and it's not even market, it's just incremental. So that if you pay a surcharge or income above, so if you're over by 1,000 to 5,000 or whatever it is, you then incrementally pay more because it's a percentage of your income.
Mhm.
Isn't that how
Was
affordable
that
housing is
more
kind of
than the affordability requirement of 30, what are we at, 30%?
So that's, I think, based on that, right? So if you're at 30% and now you're making,
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at the math, so I get that
Yeah.
we can't really solve that, but it was a point of
But does
something, I think, point of consideration if we cross another zone moving forward, that I think maybe we want to look at that 100%, which we had a discussion a few meetings back.
so if affordability is all relative. So right now, affordability is 50,000. 5 years down the road, affordability maybe 80,000.
It's set,
Or
Set by the
that's set by-
area median income countywide.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
based on household size. So it's just state thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of out of our purview, but
Mhm.
it's still tough. It's a tough one.
True.
Yes.
True that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's a
it's
lot of factors.
Yeah.
Inflation currently being a big one.
Okay. Moving on from that,
okay.
we're at H, which we spent a lot of time on. I think we're good. Dimensional standards is straightforward. Parking is straightforward. Page so page 5 is the lighting, which we like because it promotes the dark sky principles. And that's all in the plan that we approved as well. Landscaping, is pretty straightforward. Nothing extraordinary. Nothing. I think we're covered. The stormwater management. Going back, it's nice to have that in there because there was neighborhood concern of dealing with stormwater on that parcel, and there's a well-designed, I believe, well-designed engineered plan, but that really holds them.
yeah,
Yeah, makes it very accountable.
Okay, going back to landscaping, number C says planting shall be maintained and guaranteed for a minimum period of 1 year. So after 1 year, they don't have to have plantings anymore?
Meaning they don't have to, the person who plants them doesn't have to guarantee them anymore. Or maintain them. Maintain and guarantees just kind of make sure that they take root.
So like if a tree
Okay.
dies, they have to replace that tree within that
Within
year.
the
It just
year.
it just sort
Oh,
of
I
keeps
see.
up
Okay,
with
okay.
what
Okay.
we see, what we look at, and they say this is what it's gonna be, they have a requirement to
Okay.
keep that, so that all the trees die, they, that's what it
Have
looks
it.
So
like.
as an inspector, what I would do is upon CO, look at the landscape plan, make sure that every tree as per plan is there. And then they're guaranteeing it for a year. So within a year, get back there and make sure if there's shrubs they have to replace. Make
Oh,
sure
gotcha.
that
Okay.
all of the
Yep.
elements, because I think there is some landscaping in the parking lot and that kind of thing, that they're all established.
Okay.
We did that on Main Street and we actually had a couple trees that they needed to replace under warranty.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to have in
Okay.
place just because they don't always get paid for whatever reason.
And we've all seen trees sit on lots for.
I was thinking that they'll plant them 1 year and then they forget about it.
And they-
It's nothing.
No.
Okay, does the commission have anything further they want to talk about the zoning? Just the comments and then the text in there. With that, I'll open up to the public comment, questions.
I heard,
What we did.
I've been talking about 14 units for 6 years. So I will be thrilled if at the end of this evening, this whole thing is put to bed. 16 units is great, and I get it, and I don't think the housing trust should be penalized for those 2 units. The public outcry when the presentation of 28 units was outrageous. And bringing it down to 16, everyone could live with. So my only hope is that at least by the end of this evening of 16, there's no way to get above 16. The 27 bedrooms is what the housing trust has, so I don't think that's relevant. Put it in there if you want to. I do think they did feasibility studies. I think they're in the application. So I think all of that was taken care of. So this never comes up again. Denise Co never has to make another public comment on 14, 16 units. I hope tonight is finalizes that, so no other permission has to get it. Thank you.
Any idea what your next adventure is going to be?
You guys don't mean it's too long.
Give her any idea.
Perfect.
They're longer.
Anybody else? Chris?
Yeah, I have a question. And so this is based on the proposed IHZ River Road homes, correct? This whole and there's been discussion about future IHZs, proposed IHZs. Would it at what point does the determination soil base or soil type septic, ability for septic and water. At what point does that come into play in determining the size or the density? That's front and foremost.
It is.
We will, so to take your first question, you identified it as River Road Homes, but it's actually the whole parcel.
Yeah, okay, right.
River Road Homes is only part of that parcel.
Yeah.
We didn't know that was gonna look like that. We had no idea, right? It was just the whole parcel. As far as the second part.
Has the town been informed?
As far as the second part of your question, it's sort of part and parcel with the engineering for site plan approval.
What's how they do their perk tests. There's a lot of testing, and I could pull a plan to show you where the data from the perk test gets put onto the plan, which is informing why they're placing things where they're placing things based on how that in the field conditions were observed.
And with the number of units derives the water source, whether you're private or you become a public water source.
I understand all that.
So it's kind of, I'm sorry about this chair. I wanted to speak you help.
That's sort of step one of due diligence of any site plan development.
It'd be the engineering in essence. It's gonna absolutely give you a maximum. By design, by natural design of those two things, water and sewage, right? And then
preferential for locals. Do people know that?
Our regulations are
Coulter,
also
can you mute your?
on top of that, right? So they're controlled by the engineering, they're controlled by our regulations. Typically, the engineering will match to the regulation.
Okay, so, but the parameters that were um figured out are specific to this site, so you couldn't take this and like shuffle it up to, you know, Canyon Mountain Road.
You absolutely could and should, albeit that was part of our discussion, I believe, where the density might have to be revisited at that point for that newly created IHC.
And Chris, since this IHZ is tied to this map, I think it also gives us flexibility within that to, if another IHZ comes up, we attach to a map. And then all those kind of
Guess I am.
restrictions come into play of what that parcel can actually hold. And that'll give us as a commission a better way to have that discussion as well.
Yeah, I guess I'm
and it's
thinking
an
about it,
overlay.
if I'm the developer and I find a parcel of land that I wanna, think might work, do I go at it directly with 14 units and 27 bedrooms?
At this point, yes,
Okay,
depending. If
If the property
it
can
can
handle
hold that density while meeting the needed regulations. You know.
Oh, right, because you have to go
so
through
they would
the
submit
front,
on
the
that,
first
they would
steps
submit on that idea that
before you can get to the part about
planning and
it.
zoning would say, well, refer it back to your civil engineer to make sure that, and how does that, what's that step where
Site plan approval.
site plan approval would require Torrington Area Health to sign off and soil engineers, whatever.
Absolutely.
Water testing.
Anything further?
Hi, Bob Whalen, Habitat for Humanity. Short and the long is that the original IHC approval was of the two lots, only what we have typically called parcel A. It was for the 66-acre parcel, which was the IHC. Habitat, that parcel had a 14-acre parcel adjacent to it, which is unbuildable. And Habitat relies on the information published in the zoning regulations when we negotiated with the Falls Village Housing Trust to obviously transact with them to provide them with the 10 acres that they're building their development upon, conforming to the density that the community and whatnot has required. And we were operating under the premise that the remaining property of what would be in this case, the 56 acres of the original IHC zone would be still available for the density as is published in your 2013 zoning regulations. We understand the considerations and would certainly be more than willing to apply for whatever applications of waivers would be required so that we can continue the building process. And we've even modified some of our considerations for what we struck there to kind of reflect what we're anticipating as being considerations from TAHD, the area health district, as well as what our engineer is indicating will make sense for us, and about what we can handle. This is about what it comes down to. So we're still, as Habitat, anticipating the opportunity and the hope to be able to build now 3 single-family homes on roughly 3 acres of land there, and we'll be applying for that. We were prepared to do that for what we thought was going to be the regular meeting. We weren't prepared to do that for tonight. So we will be making an application for this, if you will, development as soon as we've gotten all of the background that we need from TAHD. And I presume that that we will be able to accomplish that potentially under a waiver is what I guess I've communicated is going to be our opportunity. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to ask questions. Hello, it's Culture Rule. Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can.
Yes.
Good. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. I would request that the letter I sent to the P and Z for selectmen and others last Monday be shared with members of the P and Z, please. If the zoning enforcement officer would be kind enough to share it with other members of the P and Z. That's one. Can we do that? I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Also, I have another question. Who is in charge of three things? The tax implications for the town. That I've never heard that proposed, discussed. I've never heard the citizens informed on what the potential tax implications are for the town. Please let me know who in the town government is in charge of informing citizens that their taxes probably will go up once this thing is built and students are in the high school. So that's my first question. Who's in charge of that?
You want to
Are
ask?
are are the citizens aware that there will be no preference for town people as far as getting apartments in this? Who's in charge of that? And also the traffic study, I made a strong point about the dangers of that location for cars stopped at the bottom or turning in or coming out, et cetera, et cetera. And there never was a Department of Transportation approved traffic engineer who did a study on that. And I put the P and Z, et cetera, and town on notice that I am putting them on notice that they were forewarned that there will be a problem. And if there is a problem, they have been warned that there is liability on their part, that a traffic study, a legitimate one, was never done. Thanks. I don't know anything. Please inform me who is in charge of answering all those questions. Thank you.
So Coulter, the planning and zoning has no purview under tax implications or who's responsible. Think you would start with your board of selectmen, who would probably go to their assessor, town assessor, and maybe they could help you out in that. Definitely not planning and zoning.
No, not just me, Greg. Not just me, Greg. The whole town. This is not for me. This is so citizens know what the potential. Anyway, good, Greg. Carry on. I'm sorry.
I just used your name because you asked the question.
Okay, good.
I won't do that again. The whole town. As far as a preference, the whole town, under the planning and zoning, that's not under our purview whatsoever as far as how they choose their residents. So it's nothing, it's nowhere under the purview of planning and zoning. Nothing we can do in that. The traffic study, as far as I recall, was submitted in 2021 plan. I'm not going to go into legitimate or not legitimate. As far as I know, it was legitimate. It was accepted. And I'll say this, as planning and zoning, we note your comment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I add something?
Yes, Coulter, hold on 1 second. Janelle
Thank
has
you
a
very
question.
much. Yep.
And Coulter, just for the record, your email has been shared, so I have just this moment sent it out to the planning and zoning commissioners, and granted that this is a special meeting, so we'll have more time at our regular meeting to address.
Thank you all very much, and thanks for hearing me.
You sent Doug the original IHC application.
Yeah.
Did they?
Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Stephen, anybody else?
Anybody else online want to
What did
comment?
Shandy ask? Isn't that a question for a non-special meeting? Okay.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one else.
Excellent. So coming back, go ahead, Steve.
No.
Coming back to our commission, seems like we want some proposed language modifications before we adjourn the public hearing. You want to take a crack?
So what we're saying is we're making a motion to make amendments to the IHZ overlay zone. And our amendments, as discussed during the public hearing, were, we wanted to make sure that there were 16 units max, 27 bedrooms max. We decided that the waiver was not going to be needed, so we wanted to remove the density waiver, section I, from the
H1.
Oh, sorry, H1, sorry. H1 from our incentive housing overlay zone proposal. Oh, and yeah, we wanted to add in the purpose, we wanted to add 4. We wanted to align with the application entitled IHC application dated 7/25 of 13 to enable the IHZ. And the last but not least, I think we wanted to do the compliance, which is section 3. And we wanted to change the first part to documentation of affordability requirements from the administrative agents. And that is all that we discussed within our public hearing. So those 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, I think it is.
Let's clarify one of them. Are you in the middle of making a motion?
Yeah, you can, we're still in the middle of it, so.
So we're in discussion. So he didn't particularly make a motion. So no, go ahead.
All right, so under density, I don't think we want to remove the density line that designates the 1427, but we do want to take out density waiver just below.
That's what I heard in this.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was taking out the waiver, sorry.
Yeah, I don't want.
If I didn't say just density, then yes.
Yeah.
Please correct me, thank you.
That I interpreted the waiver, but
Taking out density waiver, not
the
density.
whole section of
That's
density.
what I had written down.
Perfect.
So with that being said, Stephen, do you want to make a motion to that?
So I make a motion to add the 6 things that we just discussed during the public hearing. Do you want me to go over each one of those again?
Patty, are you good on that?
I'm good.
I think that, does any commissioner have a question on what those 6 items are? I think that we're covered, Stephen, on that.
Great. So I make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Eileen, second. Any discussion, any further discussion on that? I believe we have to do individual voting because this is a public hearing. So Matt?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Sorry to interrupt. Are you voting to close the hearing? Are
No,
you-
we're a modification of the
Okay,
language.
got it. Yeah.
Just that first.
Thanks for the clarification. I was just like not following.
Yes.
Tim? Eileen?
Aye.
I,
Aye. Oh, no, I think that's everybody, no one online, so unanimous.
Now I make a motion to close the public hearing at 7:50 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Doug? Is there any, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Job, everybody.
What?
Yeah, now we.
Don't stand up, buddy. We're still going. You're stretching.
Moving and all of it, I gotta stretch.
Smart, stand up.
What's the meeting about?
Exactly what we just
Yeah.
discussed for the last
I don't think
hour
it'll
and
be
20 minutes.
We still have one next
There's
week?
nothing left to
Yeah.
discuss. I think
Regular
we
meeting
pretty much
is
discussed it all.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
after,
That was
yeah,
a
after
public
Memorial
hearing.
Day.
Yeah,
Man,
Matt's in
okay.
shock too.
I know. I'm
7:51, well, let's move into our special meeting
1 second.
in 1 second. Bathroom break.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Yeah,
I thought there was a hole in it.
we refer to it as a We did personal comfort.
I'm sorry, you took my, so I wasn't, I couldn't.
Duly noted.
That's the only, yeah,
Yeah, that was,
that's where I got hung
it
up.
was very capricious of me to do that.
You know, it's okay. I'm gonna let it slide.
We give Matt a new word every month.
I have to start writing them down
We do.
because I
Whatever.
forgot.
What was the state last month? The state is something. You used it like 3 times, and Matt and I kept using
What was
it.
the word of
and
the
it
meeting
didn't
for
stick with
I'm
last
either
surprised
one.
you don't remember, Janelle.
We were
It's like a
using it.
memorable word.
Matt and I use it the whole meeting.
I'll have to find the
Yeah,
meeting.
what was
The
it? Tell
the
me,
meeting.
please
You
tell
remember the
me.
minutes
I
and the minutes?
remember, but I
I'd
don't
love to
remember.
So
What
even
it
Patty
was.
was in on this.
I know she
We
was.
all used it, and none of us remembered it. So
I'll text you later.
thank you.
See,
I
it'll
need
come.
to know.
It'll come to me
I
as
won't
soon
be
as
able
I
to
get home.
sleep.
Yeah,
Probably.
in the middle of the night, you'll wake up
Yeah.
out of a dead sleep.
Yeah, I didn't
Shouting
put
Liz
it
will
in
be like,
minutes.
"What?"
Oh, you did?
It's at a weird hour. Excuse me, Greg. I didn't want to lose it again.
We're ready.
Yes.
New
Doug, are you
business.
ready?
Item 1, IHC regulation commission discussion possible decision pertaining to the public hearing. So in our public hearing, we modified our draft. This is where if we would make a motion to accept's not the right word. Adopt.
Yeah,
Adopt's a great word.
yeah.
Adopt the modified regulations. Yes, in public hearings
With an effective date.
with an effective date. Yeah.
Yes.
It has to be.
It has to be tomorrow.
No, it has to be, we need to notice it and then we just need to get the new regulations up online, which can happen quickly.
Today.
Today. It's tomorrow.
Monday?
Tonight, Monday, the next show.
In 3 minutes.
12:01 on May 16th.
Let's see what the motions say.
Let's
Sounds
see what Stephen
exciting.
gives you for
Sounds
time.
exciting.
Now, my question is part of our meeting, do we want to go through these individually? Where we accepted it as a whole from our public hearing, but I think it might be better if we,
I don't think you need to because we accepted the whole draft
so it is okay.
as
Got
wrapped up.
it. Okay, I just didn't.
So
want
this
to
is purely,
verify.
in essence,
You
this
missed-
is.
You missed our line by line review last meeting.
Oh, I
could
watched
feel
it all. It was phenomenal. You guys were great.
So in essence, it should be really quick. It's either yay or nay that you solve it.
Right.
So if anybody would like to make a motion to that effect, I'd be willing to hear it.
Do you want to just make the exact same motion? Should we have Patty?
You could
activate
make a
from
motion
before?
to adopt the amended draft from the public hearing.
So,
Motion to adopt modified draft from public hearing.
so I'll make a motion to adopt the modified language from the public hearing to the IHC.
Effective
Effective,
12/01.
yeah, May 15th. Tomorrow? Is that fair? Or would you rather have it
So
Monday?
we have to notice, yeah, we can do, what is the date on Monday?
15,
18.
16, 17,
18.
18. And when you say notice, what does notice?
So it has to go to the paper.
Oh, got it.
Because it's a
Okay,
decision
sorry.
of
I
the
know
board.
it had to be a town hall. That's
Yeah.
oh, got
Yeah,
it.
so it goes to the paper as a,
Totally. Nope.
the commission
Yep.
made this decision on
Fine.
this date.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I thought it was just a town hall. You had to put it up on the wall. No, you're right.
Very old school.
Hey, I tried to just
Yeah,
thumbtacks are a bonus.
yeah, sure, I'll practice to the
That's what I thought it was.
bulletin board and
I
we're
thought it was
set.
that easy.
Telephone pole.
Great.
It's posted.
Yeah.
I got a skateboard.
Okay.
So is that a week?
No,
4 days. We're gonna do it Monday.
Monday, the 18th.
Monday's enough.
Monday will be enough.
May 18th.
May 18th.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? We can vote as a group. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved.
Wonderful.
Thank you all. Public comment, official correspondence. We don't have official correspondence.
Not till next meeting.
until
No,
next
I
meeting.
just forwarded that.
Oh, the Coulter.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
We can discuss
we'll
it.
read it in, the next meeting.
Yeah.
Public comments?
Cocktails ready?
That's a good public comment.
7:56.
I'll make a
Make a
motion.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Thank you,
I'm
everyone.
sending the language back to everyone.
I missed the motion.
I made a motion to
Did you
adjourn.
second?
I think a couple of us second.
Yeah.
You can say I.
Any-
How do I end this?
Um,